your career. And now, your host, Katrina Brittingham.
Hello, this is Katrina Brittingham, your navigator on your road to success. And welcome to the first episode of our fourth season. I cannot believe we're on our fourth season already. And we have for you a guest expert. So I'm not going to take up a whole bunch of time. I just want to let you know if you want to make comments, if you go to facebook.com/venture ready, you can join in the conversation. Your comments will pop up on the screen. Ask as many questions as you need to because you are going to get some wisdom from Stephanie A. Wynn. She is an author, a Crohn survivor, and a business development strategist. And she is a native Floridian. Hope I said that right. Stephanie has owned several successful businesses in the past, establishing her first business at the age of 23. In addition to being an entrepreneur, she has worked for one of the largest financial institutions, JP Morgan Chase, and former broker dealer Invest Financial, working side by side with successful financial advisors and business savvy investors. Stephanie has a strong desire to help others, which inspired her to write her groundbreaking book, Ready, Set, Go, a simple guide to establishing a successful small business. She is eager to share all that she has learned over the years about business ownership and hopes to inspire others to follow their dreams as well. Stephanie believes giving back to the less fortunate is a key component of success. Yes, it is. Stephanie understands the challenges of starting a business, finds joy in assisting those who don't know where to begin or are afraid to take that important first step. So now y'all know why she is here, because I am all about that and helping people in business. And our topic for today is building your brand for your business, which is extremely, extremely important. And without further ado, welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today. I'm super excited for being here. As you stated with the introduction, like business, entrepreneurship is my passion. It's my purpose. I love, eat, sleep, and breathe entrepreneurship. So thank you so much for having me here.
You are so welcome. I'm excited. I met this young lady one time and said, "Oh, I have something for you."
Yes, yes. And that's the power of networking. That is definitely the power of networking.
It is. And it's the power of having an excellent brand
Mm-hmm.
for your business. I tell people if you don't create your brand, someone else will.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very clear on what her brand was. And I was like, I have to get this young lady on the show so she can tell people exactly how to build a brand as an author, but
Mm-hmm.
also your overall brand. And so I am
Mm-hmm.
going to start with the first question that I have for you so you can explain to our audience what is a brand. Everybody talks about a brand, but what is really a brand?
So your brand is your, it's your platform. It's your website, it's your logo, it's your marketing tools. It is how your audience, whether it's your author or if you are a business owner, like if you're a startup, it's how your audience sees you. So I'll give an example of a brand. Like, so when we look at Walmart, Target, Starbucks, right? Their logo, we can see their logo and we know exactly who they are and what they do, right? So we could look at Walmart and say, okay, Walmart's, their name is their logo. That's their brand, right? That's their brand name. They're branded by their name. So we know Walmart compared to Target, we know the difference in the pricing, right? So we know that when we see that bullseye from Target, we know that that is going to be a different type of pricing and a different type of audience. So That's what brand is like. And if nobody knows you exist, nobody knows to buy into what you're selling. So
Mhm.
it's so important that we establish the brand first, but more importantly, branding is important just as well as the brand. Hey, Kim. So yes, so we definitely, so your brand is how your audience, whether it's your reader audience or your customer, like your customer avatar, those are who the people who are most likely to buy into what you're selling. So you want to make sure that you have a solid brand and you're not all over the place when you're building the brand. So you must to be successful at anything, right? You have to have that brand. So that brand is so important, Katrina, when you're building up anything. That is so key and vital.
Yes, and here's the thing too. When you build your brand, it's not just your name. When people see that symbol, because we know Target without seeing the word Target.
Hmm.
We know Pepsi without seeing the name Pepsi. And I'm gonna stop naming companies because I don't have money to pay them for talking about their brand.
Hmm.
But I tell people, when you get everything together and you live that brand, people will see your logo or a picture, whatever represents your business, and immediately think of your business.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's how deep your business goes.
Hmm.
Even
Hmm.
if they hear a phrase, they know, wait a minute, that's so and so's business.
Yes.
And that's how it goes. And you want, when people see it, to say, oh, yeah, that's so and so's business. Like, oh, no. Because there are some brands that you see their logo or something, you're like, I will never, ever, ever shop with them again, or I'll
Yeah.
never, you know. And
Hmm.
so it's very important. And it takes a long time for people to build confidence
Yes.
in your brand,
Yes.
but it takes a second to destroy it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yes.
that's how important it is to make sure that your brand is tight, that you deliver quality products, that you deliver quality services
Hmm.
every time,
Every time. Every time.
every single time. Even because it doesn't mean that things won't happen, but
Hmm.
it's how you handle what happens,
Right.
it's how you handle your customers that makes the difference
Hmm.
in how things go through. And so it's very important for you to consider that. No
Hmm.
matter how great your day is, no matter how bad your day is, you have to constantly be thinking about how you're reflecting yourself and how you're reflecting your brand.
Right.
And so that leads to the next question of, why is it important to establish the brand before you publish your book as an author?
Well, what happens is the reason why it's so important is because you want to build, so you're building this brand as an author, right? So right now, so I'll just say, like, if you're not an author and you publish your book and you post, say today you publish your book, right? And you post today, hey, buy my book. It's available on Amazon, right? Well, nobody really knows that you were publishing a book. You haven't led the people up to something. So you have to make sure that you lead the people up to something before you get the physical book in your hand, right? And a lot of times, authors, we're so excited about publishing a book, getting that physical copy in our hand. We skip over brand and branding, creating the brand. That's all a part of marketing. That's all a part of marketing. So, your reader audience, the people who are most likely to buy your book, not your friends and your family and Facebook friends, the people who will really buy into your brand, you should know this before you get the physical book in your hand. So,
Yes.
yeah. So it's important because if nobody knows that you exist as this author, nobody's buying into what you're selling, right? And or you may get, I'm not saying you won't get any sales, but there'll be sympathy buys because
Mhm.
you'll keep saying, buy my book, it's on Amazon, buy my book. And it's like people just buy it because they feel sorry for you. Like it's like you're you're begging them to buy into this, right? So yeah, the importance of a brand is just pretty much like, if nobody knows who you are, nobody knows to buy into what you're selling. And you need to do this before you get the physical book in your hand, because if nobody knows that you exist, they're not buying.
And that is true. And it's a thing of creating a hunger or a thirst for it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, because I'm an author too. So for me, I got that especially with this last book. I got the name and everything, and I said, wait a minute, okay, I have this name. I said, you know what I need to do? I need to get a cover for this book. It wasn't actually the final cover that ended up on the book, but it was similar. But you have to build the brand. That's where I am. You have to build the brand for yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know what your brand is so you can sell it,
Mm-hmm.
so you can get that hunger, so
Yes.
you can buy into it. You have to buy into the brand
Mm-hmm.
before anybody else buys into it.
Right.
And so I had that cover every time I pulled up my phone, the cover was there. Every time I pulled up my computer, it was there. So
Mm-hmm.
the brand was there in
Mm-hmm.
front of my face.
Gotcha.
So I could sell it to myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
could buy into it and be like, yes, this is my book.
Yes.
And I literally held on to that cover for a whole year before I even wrote a single word in that book.
Wow.
I started advertising that book 6 months before I finished the book. And, during that time, I was like, okay, I got this book. I got this book. To the point people was like, when is it coming out? I was like, it's almost ready.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
have to get it in front of people to the
Mm-hmm.
point that when it came out, I had people who were already willing to buy the book, and
Mm-hmm.
they hadn't even read a single word of it.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, what steps should an author take prior to the release of the book?
So one thing that I would say first, you have to have the mindset. Like, your mindset has to change from just being fixed on, I'm going to do it this way, that way. Like, you have to have a growth mindset, because what you're about to take on is going to require that you do some things that you wouldn't normally do, right? Or you wouldn't normally, um, it doesn't feel good. Like, it makes you feel uncomfortable. So one of those things is like, can you properly introduce yourself to an audience, maybe other authors? Maybe if you're in a room with someone, you're at a networking event, you should have a 30-second elevator pitch. Do you have that down pat, right? To properly introduce yourself. But more importantly, Katrina, number one, you have to have effort to do that, to build this brand before you get the book in your hand. You have to have effort. Can you put forth an effort to getting this book published, or going through the process, or building the brand, right? Number two is time. We know that you have to make time for writing a book. It's not going to write itself. It's not going to sell itself, and it's definitely not going to market itself. So you have to put forth effort and time. And then I think you also, number three, you need to be clear. Like, be clear on your expectations. Like, what is the goal for your book? Like, what is the goal for your book? Is your book to just empower people and, make a difference in the lives of people? Or is this book just for hobby purposes? You just want to put your name on something? That's fine. Whatever choice that you choose, whatever reason, whatever purpose your purpose is for writing the book, it still has to make sense as to where are we going with this book. Am I doing a nationwide book tour? Am I doing a virtual book tour? Do I want to go and speak with this book? Like, there's so many things you need to ask yourself. But again, these first few things are so key, because oftentimes when we publish books, we're not clear on our expectations. We don't put forth an effort. And when I say we don't, we assume that this book should sell itself. We don't put forth an effort to create a marketing strategy for the book or the brand. and the business, because being an author, it is truly a business. So I say, number one, you have to have your mindset has to be first. You have to have that growth mindset. That's where you look to succeed. You know this is going to work out. You don't self-sabotage everything. You look to help others. This is the person who knows, okay, I'm going on this journey and it's going to work. This is going to work. So number one, have a growth mindset. Number two, you have to put forth effort toward this project, right? Number three, time. You have to make the time, because if you don't have time, well, why are we doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then be clear. Number four, like, be clear on your expectations. Like, what do you expect to get out of this book? Are you using this book just for book sales? So if you're just a book sale author, that's fine. But are you a author who wants to, become a coach, consultant, or professional speaker? Like, what do you want to do with this book? After you speak, you can sell your book. After you coach, you could sell this book, or you could put this book as a part of your coaching program. So these are things I want the authors to really get clear on. Like, what is your goal? Do you want to do book signings in Barnes and Noble? Is that one of your goals? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's all a part of, like, knowing your expectations, like, before you build a brand. So these are the things that you need to do, in my opinion, first. And then, like, start creating the plan. Like, you got to create a plan. If you don't have a plan of action, and I talk about this in Ready, Set, Go, a simple guide to establishing a successful small business, people fail because they fail to plan.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a plan for your book. When I wrote my book, I created a business plan because I wanted more for the book. I wanted more for my book besides being on the Amazon platform or Barnes and Noble platform. I wanted to go and plant seeds in all the major cities in the United States. So I went on a nationwide book tour with my book. Was it challenging? Absolutely. Was I nervous? Yes, but I did it. That was one of my goals for my book. And remember, my expectations wasn't um it wasn't small. I had, like, great expectations, which this book has allowed for me to be in rooms. It has allowed for me to speak. It has allowed for me to create webinars, workshops. So you have to really ask yourself, like, what is the goal for my book? But again, you have those simple tips, and it's going to help you so much. It's going to help you with a lot of headache on the back end, like
Mm-hmm.
things that we don't think about, but we should.
Yes. And what you said wraps up into, because when as you were talking, I just kept hearing it. You have to be intentional.
Hmm.
You have to focus and have that plan. I always talk about having a plan for everything. I am that girl. Um, but also getting out of planning, and not executing. So with the
Hmm.
plan, you have to have an execution. And
Hmm.
with that execution comes deadlines for yourself. When are
Hmm.
you going to get this done? Okay, you need to write the book. When?
Yep.
You need to find a publisher. When? Are you going to go shopping for a publisher?
Yep. Yes.
All right,
Yes.
once you do that, the book needs to be edited. When are you going to go and complete those edits that now the publisher that you've hired, because publishers cost money, um, when are you going to go and complete those edits?
Hmm.
If you're going to do a book tour, when are you going to do a book tour?
Hmm.
What are the
Hmm.
dates? What's going to be the cost to you? How much is it going to cost for you to travel from city to city to city?
Right.
What platforms are you going to reach out to for your book to market your book?
Right. Right.
Okay. You have to be intentional. And again, what audience are you trying to reach? Like you said,
Right.
what's your ultimate goal? What's your ultimate impact? Um, so as like we both are authors, so my book is Why Not Me? From Insecurities to Gaining Success. And it's about my journey going from the corporate world, dealing with those insecurities, and ultimately getting over the insecurities I had to start a business. because honestly, it was not my goal to start a business. People don't believe that because of everything that's going on. I was the corporate person. I had entrepreneurs all in my family. People who listen to this show knows the story, so I'm not going to go into all of that. But once it was there, I set the intention. Okay, this is what you're going to do. This is the need that you've seen from questions and everything that people have asked. So now, how are you going to do it? And when I became intentional, because people fail to realize, they think, oh, this is so big, it's going to take so long. Once you become intentional, it does not take long at all. I got the cue from God. Okay, this is what you need to do, and within a month I had my business established, the LLC, everything, the vision, everything. And my brother he's a serial entrepreneur, and he's been a serial entrepreneur since we were children. And he kept saying, "Start a business, start a business." Like, no, I'm not starting a business. I'm not doing that. And when I went to him, I said, "Hey, I got this business idea. Look at this." By the time I came to him, I had already had everything, and because he was all ready to give me advice. He's like, "I was already give you advice. You already started the business." And he was like, "Well, it's about time." That's the only thing he could say in his mind. But when you set that intention, things will start to happen. Even the words on the page will just flow out, and you'll be surprised, because I think one of the most daunting things that people have with writing a business is writing a book is actually writing the book. And they spend a whole lot of time. I know people who have an idea for a book and they've had it for a decade and they have never put pen to paper. And so it'll amaze you. Like I tell people the story with writing this book. I wrote the book in 2 days, not 2 days back to back, but 2 days. Because once I got the inspiration, once I became intentional and I sat down at the computer, it all just flowed out. And I was like, so, and most of the people that I spoke to who eventually did write their book, that's how it happened. Now they may have done smaller chunks than me, because I'm just that girl. Once I start, I was like, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna write until I pass out, and that's just the girl that I am. And that's not everybody, but it'll start to flow. Set up a time. This is the time I'm going to write, and I'm going to stop because I have the expert here.
Yes, that's
Tell
true.
me.
That is so true. Like you do have to be intentional about getting things done. Even when you're selecting a publisher, I taught a class today about that, and there is also questions you have to ask the publisher, because if you're hiring a publisher, those edits should be included in your publishing contract, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so make sure when you're selecting a publisher, make sure that the publisher is in line with your business model, right?
Hmm.
Because not all publishers are intentional. Not all publishers work with integrity. So do your due diligence. Yeah, I would say, interview 3 people and go with the better of the 3, right? And just make sure that you are clear on what you're paying for. Just make sure you're clear on what you're paying for and make sure you're clear on what you're going to be receiving. Because
Hmm.
sometimes people, like others, they don't know. Like I'm team self-published all day. I had a publisher for my first book. So again, self-publish is the way to go. You just have so much more control going that route, and you can do so many more things. You're more flexible you know, with how you move with your book, right? You don't have to worry about people, other people that you have to make sure they pay. You just, everything is on you. Now, do you have to do more work? Absolutely. I mean, being an author, it's work. It takes work. Any business, it takes work. Success is not going to happen overnight. And one thing I will say too, like, find you someone that can help you get your book together, that works with integrity, that can help you with branding yourself, branding, marketing, and help you with the business development. So, yeah.
And that is so important. Like you said, even down to publishing. I self-published 2 books. I was the opposite of y'all. I self-published 2 books, and my last one I said, I don't feel like doing all this work on my own. I'm going with a publisher.
Mhm.
But I can't say I shopped around. I did, but I didn't because the publisher happened to fall right into my lap at the right time. I
Mhm.
actually interviewed her because she was an author
Okay.
on the show. She was actually one of my first interviewees when I started this show
Okay.
years back. And then she was like, she reached out to me. It's like, oh, I'm starting my own publishing company. And I was like, really? Okay, filed that in the back of my mind. And when I started looking for publishers, so wait a minute, you know a publisher.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you know her integrity, I happen to actually know this young lady since she was a child too. Yeah,
Okay.
I dated myself. Whew. Okay. So I happen to know her since she was young. And
Mhm.
I was just like, okay, well, I try everything out. Okay, tell me about what you offer. And so she was letting me know everything she offered and everything. And I said, okay, all right. I still, took it back and thought about it and considered it. And it was the best move for me at the
Gotcha.
time.
Okay.
Um, and I was like, that's what people have to consider too.
Mhm.
What's the best move for you at the time? Do
Right.
you even have the patience to self-publish? And I said it because you have people who are self-published um, and not get the results because it may not be the best move for them.
Mhm.
But also too, like you said, when you're looking for a publisher, do your homework, do your due diligence. Talk to other authors under that publisher.
Right.
Ask other authors who they use for publishing
Mhm. Mhm.
and what their experience was, and have them be candid and honest. What was like? I interviewed people. What was your actual experience? How
Yes.
did this part go? How did that
Yes.
part go? If you wanted to do a tour, did they help you? Did they have connections for you to do
Mhm.
that tour? Because when you have a publisher, just like publishing should be included, if you want to do a tour, they should have connections for you to go on a tour.
Mhm.
They should have
Mhm.
some insight. A good publisher will be able to guide you through that process.
Right. Yeah. That's true. That's true. But it's hard finding now, I look at publishing, like the publishing industry is almost like the entertainment industry or any industry. You have to find, if you want to go that route, just find the very best that you can afford that aligns with your goals and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And like you said, you got to ask questions because sometimes we're so busy and we have the money and we're going to pay the money. But sometimes it's not even about money. It's about really understanding like who these people are that's going to represent your book. If you want to cancel your contract with the publisher, is that inside the contract? Do you understand if there's any fees? If you want to make sure that you're covered on all ends from A, B to C. Like what my fee is going to be? How are my royalty
Mhm.
payments going to be paid out? Is it 60 days? Is it 90 days? Is it once a year? I've seen contracts where publishing houses only pay royalty payments once a year. And I mean, what is that? Like, that doesn't, to me, that does not align with what I'm trying to do. So,
Mhm.
again, like, you have to make sure that you are clear on what you're getting with these publishing houses. So, yeah, that's so key. Hmm.
That's what every contract read the fine print.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Go through that contract with a fine tooth comb.
Yes.
Because the last thing you want to do is get in a contract and not know what you're signing on for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some publishing companies, you were speaking about royalties.
Mm-hmm.
How much are they taking off the top?
Yes. Yes.
Some companies will you pay a fee up front and then all the royalties are yours 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That might work for you if you have the chunk of money to pay up front. Some of them, like I've seen contracts where people were paying like 80%, they were only getting 20%
Yes.
of their book.
I've seen I saw one contract where editing wasn't even included, but they were going to pay like anywhere like $5,000. So I'm like, well, what are you paying for?
Exactly.
Editing and formatting is not included in this contract because you're going to need. So I asked, like, what's the goal for your book? Do you want to be on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and things like that? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so you need your book formatted for those platforms.
Yes.
That wasn't included, and the book cover design was not included. So what exactly am I paying for? I'm paying for you to put your name on my book. So again, like, you really have to ask these questions, like, what am I going to get for paying for this? If I give you XYZ amount, I should be getting, your edits should be included, your formatting, the goal for getting a publisher, in my opinion, is for me not to have to do anything else. You all handle that, the editing, the formatting, the book cover design. I don't want to pay. I'm paying you to do all of this. At the end, I want to have a book in my hand. So that's just, if I got to go out, if you're a la carte in me, then maybe I need to consider, maybe I need to consider self-publishing.
Yes.
Right? So yeah, definitely.
If that's the case, then yes, you may as well self-publish.
Yes.
And what I would say, well, before we go to break, because we're about to go a break in a few.
Okay.
But what I would say is, because even in the editing process, because I want people to be clear, you will have someone edit. You do have to read and approve the edits. That's a difference. But you do want someone to go in and you want them to edit your book. You want to make sure it's grammatically sound. Like she said, the different formats. Are you going to be on Kindle? That's formatting. Are you going to be print? That's formatting. And so if you have someone that comes in, you want someone who puts that in that format.
Yes.
Because if not, then you might as well, like she said, self-publish and do everything yourself, because you can put your own book on Amazon. I did it twice. So, and it's actually not that hard to do that. I just didn't want to do it. I had other things going on. Business things, a conference that I was about to put on all at the same time. I was rebranding my business. I was like, okay, I gotta hand some things over to someone else. And when you are, but again, you have to be intentional. You have to, not say, well, I'm gonna just sign and trust that I'm gonna get this, or assume you're gonna get something.
Right.
Because and that's with any contract. That's even with your business contracts. People would tell you, stars, musicians, everything was like, oh, they were just so excited to have a deal that they just signed on the dotted line. They had no idea what they were signing, and they signed the worst deal of their life. They might have had $1 million contract, but then they had to do 10 albums for that $1 million.
Yes.
And all they got was that $1 million. Even when they tour, they didn't think about touring, how much they're going to make a percentage of that, and this, and that's everything with your book. What's the percentage you're going to get?
Right.
How much are you going to, do for tours? Are you going to, like you said, when you go on tour, you're going to sell your book? When you speak, are you going to sell your book? Will you have the flexibility to sell your book without the publisher?
Right.
Because in some contracts, and I've seen it, where you cannot sell that book. You have to sell that book for the publisher.
Yep. Yes. Come on now.
so these are all things that can happen. Like you look, you have two authors here that could probably tell you
the things that can happen
when you have a book. And if you're not paying attention, and the things that you see in these contracts, the horror stories you've heard from other people, and a lot of you may have heard horror stories, which is why you're holding up from your book. And you'll hear the horror stories, but you won't hear what you need to do so you don't have those horror stories.
Yes.
So with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with more Stephanie.
All right. Thank you.
The business and entrepreneurial world is full of talk. Enough. We take everything you've learned, leverage it, and give you the actual tools you need to put all the talk into your walk. Attend the conference that's all about action, strategies, and real ROI. Your executive GPS ticket includes access to seminars and workshops where you'll learn business financing, such as loans, grants, venture capital, and angel investors. Business strategies, human capital strategies, such as hiring contractors versus employees. Government contracts. Register today. www.theexecutivegps.com.
All right, we are back. And this was the perfect segue into announcing that Stephanie is a speaker for that conference. So, yay!
Oh,
Get
yes.
your tickets today. She is one of the wonderful professionals and experts that will provide you with the strategies that you can use from that conference. From the moment you leave that session, you will have tools that will launch you into business. One of the things that started the conference was the fact that, as being a business coach, a lot of the complaints that I received from authors, from entrepreneurs, is that they would go to conferences and they would get fired up and go home with notes and be like, wait a minute, I was sold a tagline. I actually don't have the tools that I need. And then when they went back for the tools they need, they were sold a huge coaching package. I feel like if you're going to pay, and some of these people were paying thousands of dollars for conferences, the conference itself, the travel, the flight. And so you've spent thousands of dollars and came back with a hashtag or a tagline and it was fired up, but then you couldn't do anything with it. And so this conference, you will walk away with something that you can actually use from the time you leave that conference. And I'm not knocking anybody's conference. I don't know, about people's conference. I just know what my clients have told me. And from experience, I have experienced that too, where it was just like, okay, I'm waiting. 5 steps to do this. And I'm sitting there waiting for the steps. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't get anything. And then I go to the person, he's like, oh, well, you can coach with me for $800 an hour or whatever, however much it was. And I'm like, wait a minute, like I just sat here and listened to you talk to me for an hour.
Yes.
And didn't get anything. And now you trying to charge me and I paid. And mind you, these were paid speakers. Okay. And I'm like, wait a minute. I just sat here and I didn't get anything. Or you'll have somebody who talks around you. Because honestly, they don't even know themselves.
Right.
They just knew that they had this thing that was hype that can get butts in the seats. And they've walked away with their money. I'm not about that. I'm about business. I'm about you making money at the end of the day, because like we talked about it, it's all about your branding. Yep. Is your brand okay? She can talk a good game, but then she had me go and do this coaching that I have to pay for another $10,000 or whatever for this after I've already paid $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 to come to a conference to see you and to give me what you said you were going to give me during a conference. So that's the thing about branding. And I always talk about delivering on what you say you're going to do. The worst thing that you can do for me in a book is tell me, and the cover excites me, and then you look at the forward, oh, this is what you're going to learn. And I didn't get anything out of the book. People have written books like that. Or I'm going to give you everything you need. And then at the end of the book, it's like, oh, for more information, I can coach you. But you never gave me the information that you promised me. And I'm sitting there with anticipation. Yes. Okay, here's the buildup. Here's the buildup. Okay. I'm not the type that I flip to the last page in the book. I want to get the story. Right. Whatever it is, whether it's a true story, whether it's a, fiction story. I'm like, okay, I'm the anticipation of getting there for me. Because I am a book reader. As well as a book writer, I am a book reader. And then the first thing you can do is get to the last page of any story and you didn't get an answer. So make sure when you write your book that when you're writing it and you're telling the story, that you don't leave your people hanging.
Right. That's true. That is so true. That is so true. You have to definitely, I'm big on delivering. That's really something that if you can't deliver on something, don't promise something. Don't promise people something that you cannot deliver on. Like that's key for me.
Yes, and I have some comments because I have multiple Facebook pages, but only the Venture Ready Facebook page. Can you type the comments and it'll show up for us? So I have Deborah Henderson Scott, who is a wonderful business owner.
Okay.
And she was talking about having SMART goals. And yes, I love having SMART goals. SMART goals help you. They're specific. So when you are doing your goals, I always go by the acronym SMART. You want it to be specific. What are you specifically trying to do? Is it measurable? At the end, can I measure the success? Is it attainable? Because sometimes people make goals that are not attainable. Okay. Is it a realistic goal? That's part of attainable. Attainable and realistic. Am I making a realistic goal for myself? And is it time bound? Did I put a time to it? And with SMART goals, because people do the overall big goal, guess what? You have to SMART out the steps. So you can see where you have gone in that goal to see the overall picture.
That is true. That's definitely true. I'm big on that. That's you definitely have to have those. I'm one of my things are like 30-day goals at a time. Sometimes when we do long-term goals, there's nothing wrong with having long-term goals, but a lot of times I know for me, I'll say, oh, I'm giving myself 6 months. 6 months come and I haven't even did the first goal. So I do 30 days at a time. I have a workbook like that's a spinoff for my actual book because I have 30-day accountability calendar. Like, how are you going to hold yourself accountable for 30 days? You need to hold yourself accountable for 30 days. And if you can't get those goals, you can't complete those goals in 30 days, then you take them and put them on the next 30 days. So my goal for doing this is so that you wouldn't burn yourself out or put too much pressure on yourself, but still in the same aspect, you're holding yourself accountable. So we have to start just holding ourselves accountable and getting this stuff done. Like and you just mark them off as you go along. You just mark each goal off. So yes, definitely SMART goals are key.
And I love that 30-day plan because it brings you accountable and you can do it as a challenge. A lot of us, especially us as business owners, we are competitive. We really are. We want everybody to win. Most of us. But we are that challenge person. And if you put yourself to that challenge, you'll be surprised what you can do. And the 30-day goal gives you things to do every day, or maybe every other day. And holding yourself at the end of this day, did I get this done? Oh man, I didn't. Why didn't I? Okay, let me adjust this, because it's a process too. So I don't want people to beat themselves up. I didn't get this goal done today. It happens to all of us. It's reviewing and seeing, barring an emergency or something that you really just had to do, where are your time wasters? How did you get distracted? I'm that distractible person too. I am that, oh, let me do this. And then something happened. I'm like, oh, what's that over there? Oh, I'm that girl. So, and I know that about me. I know I'm that girl. So because I know I'm that girl, I put systems and things in place to help me stay on target. And sometimes you need to do that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Go ahead.
Definitely. Yes, you definitely have to have systems in place that in order to grow your business, right? So a lot of times I want success and I want to grow my business. But if you don't have a system in place, how are we growing if there's no system? Right? So that's definitely important. Yes.
And I think too, because people are fooled by the overnight successes.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that there aren't any,
Mm-hmm.
but they are few and far between. And when you listen to the overnight successes story, it really wasn't an overnight success.
Right.
So it was a lot of work that they did behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
before the spotlight came, and everybody's like, "Oh, who's this wonderful
Mm-hmm.
this and that and the third?" When you
Right.
listen to everyone's story,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we talked about the entertainment industry, so I'm going to go there. When you look at the newest star that came out, even if they're on the reality song shows,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mention no names, so I'm not trying to get sued. When you go there, even the person who went there and is like, "Oh, this is the unknown," when you listen to their story, a lot of times they've been singing for years, they've been doing different things for years. They if they play an instrument, they didn't wake up one day and just start playing an
Right.
instrument, and then the next day said, "I'm gonna go on a voice." They were practicing for a long time. They honed that skill for
Mm-hmm.
a long time, and
Right.
so everything takes work. It takes planning. It takes dedication to that craft.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're an author, it takes dedication to
Mm-hmm.
that craft, the craft of writing, the craft of marketing, the craft of selling your brand, selling your book to
Yes.
your person. Like I've known people who've written books and then afterwards they were like, "Oh, I have a cover. What do you think of the cover?" No, you are to set the brand.
Right. Right.
And you should know the brand. Again, they had already wrote the book and was about to publish. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have the cover? That that's telling for me.
Yes.
And the cover that they were deciding when they told me the title, because I was one of the people that looked at it and I'm like, this cover has absolutely nothing to do with your title. And I said, "So what was the book about?" And they told me what the book about. The cover had nothing to do with what the book was about.
Yeah.
So this is what the planning is about. I mean, it was, don't get me wrong, it was a beautiful cover.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, when I look at this, and I said, I'm gonna have to be honest and candid. This person knew me for years too, so um, I hope I didn't hurt their feelings. I was trying not to, but I was just like, this is a beautiful cover. But when I look at this cover, I don't think about what you're telling me the book is about.
Right.
Guess what the book is about? Your brand. So I didn't say I didn't see your brand in it, because again, I was trying not to hurt people's feelings. But I
Right.
was like, when I look at this, it doesn't make me think of this. It makes me think of this.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Yeah.
you are looking, yeah,
Yeah, I definitely can relate to you. Like, yes.
hmm
Yes.
and so when people, it's all about your brand. When they're looking at that book, are they thinking about what you're writing about?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're not, when they read the back of your book or what it's about, they're gonna put it down
Mm-hmm.
because it's not in their mind. Or even if they do buy it, guess what? They're not gonna read it.
Mm-hmm.
And who are your biggest sellers of your book after people start purchasing it? The people
Mm-hmm.
who read your book.
Right.
I
That's
know
true.
people who have read books and they're just sitting on a bookshelf or coffee table, under their bed, something like that. They've never touched it, never picked it up. And
Yes.
guess what? If they never picked it up, they've never told anybody about your book.
That's true. That's so true. That is definitely true.
The
Yep.
same as if they read it and they said, "This book is horrible." The same as if they read it and they said, "Oh, this book is awesome." And then they go, "Oh, you got to read this book."
Mm-hmm.
People who buy into your brand, like, "You got to read this book." "Oh, let me borrow it." No, you got to buy this book.
Mm-hmm.
People who have bought into your brand, when people say, "Oh, I need to read that book," the people who read your book may even buy the book for other people.
Right. Yep. That's right. That is so true. That is so true. You know, you and you when you're talking to people about their book covers, like, and I say this, I want all of the authors who are listening, all of the readers that are the writers out here, like, remember, like, take the emotion out of your book and look at it from a business standpoint. When you are designing your book cover, your title should tell me what this book is about, and the back of your book should also tell me what this book is about. If it does not, I'm not buying it. I'm just saying that. I'm being honest. Like, I'm not buying your book if you have a title and you don't have a subtitle that needs to, like, okay, my book is ready, set, go. I had to put a subtitle so people actually know exactly what my book is about. It says A Simple Guide to Establishing a Successful Small Business. So you know automatically, like, this book is about starting a business. And it's a simple guide. So it's a guide to starting a business, a successful business at that, right? So when you're talking about your book and your title, just be clear on, like, your subtitle so people can know, like, maybe a how-to guide. If it's self-help, how-to, whatever it is, or a guide on ultimate guide on something, right? If it's a guide, if it's a self-help guide to helping somebody move from being stuck to unstuck. I mean, stuck to unstuck, right?
Mhm.
Or if it's moving somebody in a way that's transforming them from where they were before. So again, like, just be intentional about your topic, because you have to take the emotion out of your book and look at it from a business aspect. When you're pitching to these independent bookstores and you're pitching to these retail stores to do book signings, to do pop-ups, they're going to make sure that your book even fits their business model, because not all bookstores will be accepting to your book. So just make sure that your book and your book title, like, it lines up with what's in the content.
Mhm.
Everything that you say that you're gonna deliver what you say it is on the inside of the book.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that's, again, that's part of your brand.
Mhm.
And that's part of your elevator pitch
Yes.
of the book. Like
Mhm.
you said, your book, you can say, okay, this is the guide to this. That's the opening to your elevator pitch
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
that you can say in 30 seconds or less.
Mhm.
Is, first of all, the title should grab whoever your audience is attention.
Mhm.
That's all about the advertising.
Yes.
That's all about the pitch. Because trust me, I read book titles and covers all the time. I'm like, oh, okay, put that book right back down. The title makes me flip, like you said, because I do the same thing. I look at the cover, I'm like, oh, this title looks good. I wonder what this is about. Flip it to the back.
Mhm.
Give me your elevator pitch on the back. What is this book about?
Mhm.
If that pulls me in more, guess what? I'm buying your book.
Mhm.
And so these are the things, and I wouldn't necessarily say take the emotion out of it. What I would say is, how are you framing the emotion about it?
Mhm.
Because you can be emotional about a lot of things, but how are you communicating that emotion
Mhm.
of the book? Because writing a book, from the title and everything, at least for the books that I have, is very emotional. Every time I read, I'm like, yeah, I remember that emotion.
Mhm.
And are you portraying it in a way where people pick up your emotion or the emotion that you want them to feel from the book? And that's from the title, that's from the cover, that's from the first line, the forward, and everything. Do you have a book that people say I can't put down? And
Mhm.
I have to be real. When I first wrote Why Not Me, I had no idea it was going to be that kind of book. I was just writing. And I was just being obedient because it was just like, oh, write this book. And I was like, okay.
Mhm.
And from the, I'm not going to say sample readers, but the preview readers, before the book even came out and things like that, they were like, oh my gosh, I couldn't put the book down. I
Mhm.
couldn't even sleep because I had to finish this book. I had to know how this book was going to end.
Mhm.
Even a how-to book or do-it-yourself book should be able to do that because it's sparking, remember, it's sparking the interest of your audience.
Yes.
Someone's looking for what you're writing.
Mhm. Right.
And so that's who you're speaking to because people have questions about different things. People need answers to different things.
Mhm.
And even if your book is a fiction book, people are looking for that fiction book that will take them fiction. Yeah, fiction. Fiction is the one that's made up. That's fantasy and
Mhm.
not real life stuff. They're looking for a story that they can read at night or that'll take them on a journey. Is your book accomplishing that at the end of the day?
Mhm. That's true.
And we are already at the top of the hour.
All right. All
So thank
right.
you, thank you, thank you for coming. I'm going to check and see if we have any comments. Uh, we did have someone say, yes, hold yourself accountable. I do believe the person who was commenting was an author too. So, always love to give those thumbs up. But
Okay.
what I want to ask you is, do you have any closing comments for the audience?
So I just want authors, those authors that are out here reading or aspiring authors to just number one, believe in yourself. Like believe in yourself enough to know that you can do this very thing as an author, that you can write the book. If you want to write the book, write the book. If you want to start the business, start the business. But whatever you do, do not give up. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for having me here. I really appreciate this opportunity, Katrina, and I appreciate what you're doing. Just keep me posted if I can help out in any way. You can reach if you want to follow me. I'm Stephanie A. Wynn on all social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Stephanie A. Wynn, and just let me give them a tip for branding. One thing I would recommend. This is something you can do. That you can do this tonight. Make sure all of your usernames are consistent across the social media platforms for your brand. If you're branding yourself as an author, make sure it's clear in your bios. Make sure your name is consistent. You don't want to be on Instagram as something else and then Facebook as another name. And then when you go and do these interviews, because you're trying to gain brand awareness, nobody can find you because it's all over the place. So just get your usernames, make sure they're consistent so you can start building your brand that way. So my name is Stephanie A. Wynn. It's Stephanie A. Wynn on all social media platforms. My picture is the same. It's on all of my platforms. So again, so that there's no confusion of I think this is this person. I'm not quite sure. You will miss out on a lot of opportunities because people can't find you. So again, just that's one tip that I would give authors. If you're wanting to brand yourself as an author, you can start today by making sure that your usernames on your social media platforms are consistent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, I see. That's on my girl. This is because she always a good expert will have things pop in your head. If you don't know if you're consistent across your media platforms, Google yourself. If you Google yourself, everything that you have and everything you own should pop up. It should. And with that being said, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you so, so, so much.
You're
And
welcome.
definitely, we will definitely continue to be in contact.
Yes.
And
Yes.
please reach out to her. She is awesome and phenomenal. She has
Mhm.
my stamp of approval and Career GPS's stamp of approval. And we will see you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Career GPS. Join us next Wednesday for more insights from career experts and thought leaders from around the globe who'll help you reach the next destination in your career. To be a guest on the show, contact us at info@ventureready.net or call us at 888-712-4956.